Good morning, Catalyst.
Hi.
Yeah, and I just commend you to lift your chin up to that calling, not just a title. You are minister, and in fact, everyone here, you are minister, and you have received the calling from the Lord to live out this life of gospel, and through your life, so you all have this calling to be minister, and you are, and not just the title, but and I want you to lift the chin up and receive that calling and live out that calling. So we're going through this season of Advent. If you are not familiar with this term Advent, it's a season 4 Sundays prior to Christmas Sunday, Christmas Day. So we're going through this time, anticipating, Jesus who came about 2,000 years ago as an infant baby, lived beautiful life, made huge influence on this globe, and he's the hope of our world. And we sang this song, we are the church and we are the hope, and because Christ is living in us and through us. And I just had this conviction that, I want you to say with this audacity, you as you sang this song, believe in the song and believe in that God's calling on our lives, have that audacity to say, I am the church and I am hope of this world. And not the hope, I'm a hope in this world. And if you can do that, would you greet one another? You are the hope. You are a hope, yeah. Yeah, can we have that audacity to say that, making this positive impact? So I thought about, going through this season of Advent and to talk about Christmas message, but instead, there's something that the Lord really placed on my heart past a few months. So I decided to talk about what God placed in my heart. That is aspiring to this calling, which is the leadership. Aspiring to Christian leadership. And I believe that we all have influenced by some people throughout our lives. And some influences on us some are positive and some are negative. And the person of influence in your life could be your, childhood teacher. First grade, this beautiful teacher you fall in love with and made some impact in your life. Or it could be your, volunteer youth worker or youth pastor, or your current pastor, Pastor Sam, or it could be somebody else, People have influence in our lives. And the person of influence could be your friends. And there are people who impacted our lives. Maybe sometimes it's not maybe a person. It may be through their writings. If you are a good reader, some of the writings, influence on us. But then there are people who really are leaders in our lives who made this positive impact in our lives. So I want you to think about a few people, just as you hear this message, think about a few people that just comes to your mind, and these people who impacted you. We can easily think of many leaders. I don't know about you, but one of my heroes is MLK Jr., the man who lived, who knew the Lord and lived out the life and huge impact in this nation and around the world. I don't know, maybe Nelson Mandela, I don't know, Mother Teresa, maybe Heidi Baker, or whoever it might be. Through their lives, through their listening to their teachings, looking at their lives, you are influenced. Maybe those are a little bit high-file, people, but there's just some people in your life. It could be your parents, right? It could be, your old, one of the pastors who care about you, and whoever that might be. When we look at those leaders, there's something so attractive, so inspiring about them. Their life is admirable, just honorable, just life is fulfilling, and it's just a praiseworthy. And when we look at their lives, and we want to aspire to that kind of leadership. And so my goal today is really for us to have this God to aspire to the spiritual leadership that God has for every one of us. So for me personally, Pastor Sam and many AMI pastors, and there are a few missionaries that I have personal relationship in the past. When I look at their lives, it just inspires me to live kind of life they're living. So what I'm trying to do today is look at a few places in the Bible for you to cause this desire, this urgent desire. Yes, I want to be like that person. I want to have that kind of leadership in my life. So that's just my desire today. So one of the key passages comes from 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1. My NIV Bible reads like this. Here is a trustworthy saying. Whoever aspires to be an overseer desires a noble task. We know that Bible is trustworthy words of God. And Paul is emphasizing here is trustworthy saying. Listen to this. He's emphasizing, you got to listen to this. And he says, whoever aspires to be an overseer, this word overseer is elder or, a bishop, some kind of leadership. If you want to be an overseer, that person will desire a noble task. And as I kind of study on this, I found another translation, reading different translation. New English Bible reads this way. To aspire to leadership is an honorable ambition. Let me just read it again. To aspire to leadership is an honorable ambition. I think there are times we think aspiring to leadership is not an honorable ambition because there are selfish leaders, and we have seen many leaders who are not making positive impact. When we look at that, aspiring to leadership, maybe not. But Scripture says, aspire to leadership is an honorable ambition. So I want to talk about just three things today. What is leadership, number one? Number two, why is aspiring to leadership is an honorable ambition? And number three, how do we pursue it? How do we aspire to this kind of leadership? So number one, what is leadership? I've been reading many books on leadership. This is one of the topics, and as a pastor, it's one of the things that I have to continue to develop. So I've been reading many books about on leadership, and there are many definitions. But one word, just to not confuse you, just one word. Leadership can be defined in one word, that is influence. Nothing more, nothing less. Influence. Leaders influence. Some leaders make a bad influence, but good leaders make positive influence. Any leaders influence. And my question is there anyone who's not influencing others? Maybe some of you are thinking, I'm not a leader. But every one of us here, at least, we have received this calling to influence others. And so everyone will really rise up to receive this calling and live out for the gospel of Jesus Christ. As we sing that song, and I was thinking the verse came to me was, you need to be the light and the salt in this world. If you lose saltiness, what good is it? If you have a battery, think about battery. If it's all juice which went out, there's no power, what good is it? You're going to throw it away. But as a church, as a people, have this audacity, believe in this calling. Yes, I'm going to live this life for the gospel of Jesus, this worthy calling. May we rise up to that. I'm just kind of going a little bit ahead, but leaders influence. As your followers of Christ, having this desire, yes, for the glory of the gospel of Jesus Christ, I want to be an influencer. So, the greater leadership is, the greater and wider impact will be. So, every leader make influence. The question is, where does it influence, this power come from? I want to be an influencer of somebody else in a positive way for the gospel of Christ. Where this power of influence come from? What does leadership really look like? Perhaps I think this picture will help you. So I'm going to show a picture. Leadership is like an iceberg. There's a visible aspect of leadership and the invisible aspect of leadership. On the tip of iceberg, when you are on the ship, you will see this tip of iceberg. That's what you see. And that is a visible part of the leadership. And as a leader, when you look at any kind of leader, there are parts you see so clearly. That is a visible aspect. And then there is underneath the water, there's invisible, you don't immediately see, which is the larger part of it that is underneath the water. There's an invisible aspect of leadership. So visibility leader is like, it's the skill set of leader. For example, communication. There a functional ability of leading a board meeting. If you're a leader, think of a CEO. Their capacity of leader, it really comes out in the board meeting. And they are leading these people. And there is a capability of doing things. They, as a leader, they set out the vision and they do things. They have this ability to do things, and then they have to carry out, execute what they're wanting to do. So those are a visible aspect of leader. And I was thinking through, we're not yet having a building, right? We don't have a church building. We're not pursuing necessarily at this point, having a building. We want it, but we're not pursuing. Some point, I believe that we need to have a building, and in order to really do what God called us to do. When that happens, for example, I want you to picture this. A leader who has this ability to share, ability to communicate, convince people, we gotta go this, we gotta have this building, we gotta do the God's work, right? Great communication. That's what you're going to see. And that leader not only communicated, gonna rally up the people, especially key leaders, and having this ability to convince people. That's what you will see when that happens. That's a visible aspect. But greater thing is this invisible aspect of leadership, which is underneath this water. Bigger part. 85%, 90% of the power comes from this underneath. What is immediately unseen is in a leader is their character, their diligence, their persevering spirit, their integrity, their patience, their capacity of love. As a pastor, what you don't immediately see is their capacity of love. But as time goes by, as you experience seeing your pastor, you will see their capacity. And over time, you want to follow their leader because you see them, their character. So think about that Titanic, movie, right? This huge ship hit this iceberg and sank. Why? Because it's underneath the water, there's this gigantic iceberg, the power that is invisible, which is a bigger thing. That sank this gigantic ship, Titanic. When you look at any leader, you don't see immediately their character, but over time, what is attracted to this leader is their qualities of their character. And because of that, over time, you want to follow. So look at the great leader. Deep within us, when we encounter those leaders, there's a longing in our heart. I want to be like that person. I want to have that courage instead of this cowardice. This boldness to stand up for what is right, not shying away. This energy of a diligence, day in and day out, being faithful to the calling that God has for. They are living up. When you look at that, you want to have that longing for. I want to be like that. And there's a power of compassion, and many of us love Heidi Baker. Why? I mean, part of it is her funny stories and all that. But deep inside in us, we long for that kind of capacity of love, compassion. Steadfast, a perseverance instead of easily giving up. And that's what we see. And most important thing is the character of the leader is this intimacy with the Lord. Yesterday, man's retreat, and we discussed different things. But what we want to really pursue after is our longing for the Lord. Pursuit of our Lord Jesus Christ. That intimacy with the Lord. And Jesus gave us that kind of example. He withdrew himself and constantly walking with his Father. And that's where power came. And when we look at that, we want to be like him. You know, obvious that we have 4 children. Obvious that we love each other so much. We have 4 children, right? Bigger reason we have 4 children is we discussed this, and one of the reason is we want to make disciples of our children. And as time goes by, and as a father, it is challenging even to disciple my own children. And it's a great calling that I have. And for the rest of my life, at least to my children, I'm going to do everything I can. Not showing my character, I'm going to build my character to at least my kids, I'm going to disciple my kids. Not as just because I'm their father, the title, but because of the calling that I see in God. God's calling in me. I'm going to make disciples of my children. So this is what I discovered. A few months ago, I saw my kids. There's one particular season they were fighting with one another, just playing electronic, iPod or whatever that they are playing with. They're fighting, and I was really almost sick of it. You guys cannot do this anymore, right? And then there are times I find myself so far doing, my thing. What kind of example am I showing? At that moment, my light just came out. I can't do this anymore. I cannot just lead. At this point of their age, they will listen because I'm their father. I'm your father, you just listen to me. Then they will listen. Right? But by the time they become a teenager, I'm not too sure. I mean, I can still use my authority as a father, but it can only carry so far. Look at your life. When your parents, hey, I'm your father, do this. We don't respond to that. Right? Deep inside, we don't respond to that. Maybe on a surface level, there's the fear aspect, okay, I'm going to do it. But deep within, that's not what we're following after. But when you see your parent, their character, that moves us. That's what I want to show to my kids. They not only just listen to what I say, but they see me living out. And that is a greater part of developing leadership. Can I have that audacity, that aspiration? I'm going to live this life, make an impact. Maybe if it is anyone else, at least to my children, I'm going to make an impact. And in our church, we have a lot of kids here. Our moms and dads, you have that calling. They just don't rise up and become great people. And we got to influence them in a positive way. And those who are not married, you're part of the church. And you have that calling. And later on, you're going to have your own children, and you're going to live out that way. So we all have that calling. In terms of the leadership, what happens is this. Is that because we put so much emphasis, energy, and strength on visibility of the leader, which is a skill set. Oh, he's a great speaker. Oh, he's a great humor. Or great whatever these things that we see in their leadership. So that we want to be like them, and we spend all the energy and resource and time on developing the skill set, which is important. And on the other hand, we're neglecting difficult part of working out our character. And a lot of us, that's where we are coming short at times. But true leadership, when we look at this, power really comes underneath the water. Building that character. And that is what's going to make a last impact to our children, to our friends, to your coworkers, wherever you are at. So this is about leadership. Because I follow Jesus Christ, because I want to be that light that shines light, because I want to be that salt, have that taste of salt, not just name only. Can I aspire to that influence? And therefore, I'm going to build my character, which is hard work. As I think about that, I thought about Pastor Sam too. What you probably, what everyone else sees is his abilities. His preaching skills are phenomenal to me. Maybe not, I don't know about you, but to me, right? And that's what you see. It's a prophetic gift. I don't think it just came one day. And he lives out. There's a daily struggle that I know that he goes through to be in tune with the Lord. And that's the difficult part. And without that, you cannot lead. So there's a character of self-discipline. And that's what's bringing this authority. Not just, I'm a pastor of your church, you gotta listen to me. Not that. It's their character that is proven over time, that earns a respect. Earns that I want to follow you. So, as I read 1 Timothy and chapter 3, verse 1, to aspire to leadership is an honorable ambition. Can we have that aspiration? Yes, I want to aspire to that. And then it's very interesting. As I said, in this list there are descriptions, this kind of qualities that lays out the list of things that Paul talks about. What is amazing to me, it goes with what I'm talking right now, is that there's only one skill set he's listed here. The rest of them is qualities of character. Listen to this, verse 2. Now the overseer is to be above reproach, faithful to his wife, temperate, self-controlled, respectable, hospitable, able to teach. This is the only ability, skill set he's listed in here. Rest of them not given to drunkenness, not violent, but gentle, not quarrelsome, not a lover of money. All the rest is related to the character. Because of Apostle Paul, he himself had a lot of abilities. But he knew true power comes from his character. And he's saying, if you are aspiring to leadership, this is what you need to work on. And so often we just think about this tip of iceberg, the visibility, the functional abilities, the skill set. But can we aspire to this leadership to make long-term impact on people's lives? Can we build that character? So what is leadership? Influence. The prominent force of influence is a leader's character. And therefore, to aspire to leadership is an honorable ambition. So it's an influence. It comes from our, mostly, a big part, at least big part is from our character. Number two, why is it aspiring to leadership is an honorable ambition? Not all aspiration for leadership is an honorable ambition. Pursuing leadership for the benefit of position of leadership is not an honorable thing. You know, many of us who are grew up in the Korean church, whenever there's an elder thing going on, can I be a little bit honest? I get sick of it. I mean, just a lot of things, just a lot of politics going on, and using their money, even just going after people, convincing people, buying them dinner, and come on, right? We don't want that. And that is not honorable ambition, obviously. But here, aspiration to leadership is an honorable ambition. Why? Because our motive for Jesus Christ. As we are genuinely wanting to follow Christ, we're committed to His calling in our lives. One of the primary calling is when Jesus left earth. When He was ascending into the heaven, He gave His final words, His almost last will statement to His disciple. Go make disciples of all nations. Make disciples. That is calling for not just for the pastor or super Christian, but all believers. You want to follow me? Make disciples. Wherever you go, in all nations, in all culture, or tribes, make disciples. It is an honorable ambition in response to this calling that God has for us. So as a Christian, called to leadership, we all have this calling to make disciples. In order to make disciples, we're influencing others. In order to influence others, we got to build our character. We had to aspire to this leadership that requires a godly character. And that is why it is an honorable ambition. And as I think about this message, there's one particular person that I am forever grateful. His name is Sam, not Pastor Sam. There's another Sam in Michigan. I just came from Korea. I was like a young punk, 18 years old around that time. I came here, and then this man, he's 1 year older than me, and then he just came to me and shared the gospel. Who are you? Get out of my life, right? And then he just kept coming to me. And faithfully sharing the gospel. And I saw him, his integrity, and his perseverance. And I shut him off many times. I appreciate our friendship, but I don't want, no thank you. Don't share gospel. But he was persevering, he just kept coming to me. And then finally I came to the Lord. And for him, I'm forever grateful. And he showed me the value of small group. He didn't have to, but he brought me to the small group. And then showed the group of guys living this Christian life. And I saw that it was beautiful. They were challenging each other to live this life as something worthy for the Lord. And I saw that. I was attracted to that. And I'm grateful. He taught me about this, how to live Christian life. I'm forever grateful. That was the beginning. Without him, I'm not here. And the faithfulness. Can you imagine? You are making an eternal impact on somebody else's life. In this grand scheme of God's kingdom, God's work, you are making significant, eternal impact on somebody else because you are investing in them. You are influencing them with your character, with your lifestyle, the way that you value things. It's an amazing calling. Here's the second reason why we ought to aspire to leadership. Not only calling to discipleship, but another fundamental purpose of our life is to follow examples of Jesus Christ, which means to be like Christ. And this is the mission statement. This is what Jesus said. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. Mark 10:45 is his mission statement. The Son of God, God himself took the human flesh and came on earth and said, I came here not to be served. Hello, I'm not here to, I don't want you to serve me, but I came here to serve you, serve the humanity, to give my life away. That was his mission statement. For us, as we follow that, our purpose is to be like him. So give our life away and give our influence to serve others. Great leaders use their influence to serve others. That's the mark of discipleship, mark of servant, mark of a leadership, servanthood. When we seek this kind of quality, this character in us, the position will seek its leaders, and will be there. So making disciples and becoming like Christ make us to aspire to this leadership calling that God has for us. So if you are genuinely following, and I want to be really genuine about my pursuit of the Lord, and I believe the same thing with you. If we believe in that calling, it's going to cause us to aspire to this leadership God has for us. I want to make it a couple statement about what happens when we don't aspire to leadership. If we really don't aspire to leadership, what is going to happen? Number one, we're going to waste our lives. We sing that song, right? None of us want to waste our lives. I think one of the greatest fear of humanity, if we really care about this life, we don't want to waste this life. But if we don't really aspire to leadership, it's going to happen. Something else will take that passion, and we are given into it, and then eventually our life will be wasted. So, if we can aspire to leadership, there's a beauty in this life, making impact, everlasting, eternal impact in people's lives. So how do we do that? How do we aspire to spiritual leadership? Three things. Pursue a person of higher influence, who is more like Christ than you are. Really bog them. Just find somebody higher influence than you are. Go after them. Seek them out. And really ask them, can you invest in my life? I want to grow like you. I want to grow to be the person that God called me to. Have that. That's the best way to live out and really aspire to leadership. Following that example. So I'm not sure if you can think about right now in your life, what are the models that you have? Who's the one that you really want to aspire to, you want to be like? You gotta have not just Jesus here, a perfect example, but on a human level, in a close relationship where you see that person and you want to be inspired to live that kind of life. Seek them out. Second thing is, pursue a person that you can help that person to grow. Not only soaking everything the leader you're following after, getting all the juice from them. If you stop there, it's like being a Dead Sea. There's no in and out the flow. There's no life. It's a Dead Sea. But Sea of Galilee, there's a lot of outflows. It's in and out. It's a refreshing water. In that picture, I'm not sure if you're getting the picture. There gotta be in and out. You receive and you give. You gotta be a conduit, not just a container. Having this full of water in a container, day goes by, it's gonna be stale. But if you become a conduit, it flows all the time. So if you can pursue a person, then you can help that person to grow. So you receive from this greater leader and be that person for somebody else. Lastly, how do we pursue this spiritual leadership? Sharpen your character daily. Nobody grows into a leader in a day. We know that. But they grow into a leader daily. I'm not sure if you got this. Nobody grows into a leader in a day, but they grow into a person daily. Day in, day out, they work out. Whatever area or character you need to grow, focus at least a couple months. If you are lacking in faithfulness, become lazy, then focus on that areas 1 month, 2 months, and then move on to something else and then come back to that. And that's how we grow. It's a sharpening knife, sharpening our character. So think about this 3 things. Pursue a person of higher influence, or be that person for somebody else, and daily sharpen your character. Let's pray together.